Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm really proud to be standing here today because it is an incredibly historic day for ocean conservation. And let us make no mistake, the world's oceans are under significant threat. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change estimates that if global warming reaches 1.5 degrees, 70% of coral reefs will die. If temperatures rise by 2 degrees, as now sadly looks likely, the 99% of the Earth's coral reefs will die. Coral reefs are not just a pretty thing that we go diving on. They're incredibly complex and important ecosystems. They're fish nurseries, but they also provide very significant protection for the islanders, both from adverse weather, but also from sea level rises. Other threats: illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing. It's decimating fish populations across the globe. Deep-sea mining threatens to cause damage from ecosystems which will take decades to recover from. Currently, 2/3 of the ocean lie outside of jurisdictions of national states, and that's what this bill is focusing on. Yes. For the health of oceans and the planet as a whole, it is crucial that the international community develops ways of ensuring that these areas are not subject to lawless exploitation, as is currently happening. And I will, of course, give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. And in January this year, as chair of the International Development Committee, she wrote to the government to push the government to ratify the Global Oceans Treaty. So I thank her as chair of my committee for her efforts on this front. But if I recall correctly, at the time, our committee's work highlighted that the UK had to work globally because there are 3 billion people who depend on the oceans for work, and especially it's the poorer, smaller, developing nations that need to do that. And so does she agree with me that this is a vital step forward for the future of especially the small island developing states, but that the government must push others who have signed up to this treaty to ratify it?
I thank my honourable friend and colleague. And yes, you're absolutely right. And that's why today is so historic, because this is the UK taking that leadership role and hopefully corralling some of the other countries that are more reticent to do the right thing to do the right thing. You mentioned our committee, the International Development Committee, and also the All-Party Parliamentary Group for the Ocean, both of which I chair, have long been calling on both the previous government and this government to put in place the necessary legislation to ratify these agreements. To have finally reached this point is a credit to the ministers, particularly our water minister, but also the Minister for the International Indo-Pacific, and indeed the Minister of State for International Development. In an era of international fragmentation, I'm relieved that 145 states have come together to forge this agreement and to safeguard it for a global public good. Already, as my honourable friend alluded to, 75 countries have taken that next step of ratifying. And can I personally say that I'm very proud that Minister Hardy, in opposition, was championing this, and actually has delivered to her word and in government is leading this ratification. Thank you. As a seafaring nation and a centre of expertise in maritime law, the UK is perfectly placed to lead the charge to protect the world's oceans. Sadly, we are lagging behind many. The countries that did early on subscribe and ratify, among them the Seychelles, St Lucia and Barbados, they ratified last year. It's not surprising that it's a small island developing states, SIDS, or large ocean states, as they prefer to be called, were quick to ratify because they recognise the existential threat that ocean ecosystem degradation, poses to human societies and their economies. As the International Development Committee argued in our report last year, SIDS need reliable partners. And the UK talks a good game when it comes to being responsible in global leadership. But activists and policymakers from SIDS told the committee that they were concerned about the consistency of Britain's commitment. And so I hope at this moment and this government, that's when we see the change and we actually stand up for those small island developing states, and particularly, as the honourable friend mentioned, our overseas territories. The health of the world's ocean is not an issue confined to low-income countries. It's an existential issue for all of us. As the government's own impact assessment acknowledged, the impact of reduced fish stocks and decreased carbon sequestration capture will be borne by all of us, including future generations. The UK must seize this moment to match its international conservation ambition with tangible action to protect our domestic waters. Bottom trawl fishing, a highly destructive practice, is still permitted across almost all of UK's seas, including in over 90% of our marine protected areas. I welcome the government's consultation into this, and I hope they would take the necessary step to ban this practice wherever they can. The government must consider introducing additional legislation to ensure the UK's marine protected areas are actually protected, because sadly, even though it's got the title, many of them are not. This bill also offers plentiful opportunities for the UK's blue economy as a world leader in marine science and marine technologies. To support quick progress, the UK needs a definition of the use of marine genetic resources and digital sequence information by the time this agreement is ratified. This is to support all those who will implement it. Madam Deputy Speaker, the UK's next steps are vital to ensure we fulfil our leadership role in ocean protection. The 120-day countdown has started. The first conference of parties, Ocean COP1, is to be held within just 12 months. With the clock ticking, can the Minister set out a timetable for the passage of this bill through both houses? We need it to pass quickly to allow the UK to play its full part in the first conference. Can the Minister also confirm whether this bill legally extends to the UK's existing domestic duties to have regard to their precautionary and polluter pays principle to the high seas? And if not, whether something to this effect should be or could be inserted onto the face of the bill itself? I also wonder if the Minister will also consider producing an ocean strategy, as currently ocean issues fall between a number of different departments, unfortunately meaning under the ownership of none. Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill is to be commended and must reach royal assent without delay, and I strongly urge all members to support it.